Okay, so welcome everyone to the first EDM Films podcast. My name is Joey Edwards, and I have two special, lovely ladies with me this evening, Miss Brittany Winkle.
Hello.
And Jessica Howard.
Hi.
So we kind of wanted to get together and discuss all things film, entertainment, probably a little bit of pop culture. We are going to put this on SoundCloud and most likely iTunes. So thank you for joining us. Let's go ahead and just jump right in. We had some friends on Facebook post some questions to us. We're going to just bounce around a little bit, but I want to start with their questions, and maybe that'll lead us to our own subject matter. So, if you want to lead us off, Brittany, go right ahead.
Sure. So Garrett asks, in your opinion, is it more challenging to act or direct a film? So I'm going to give that one to you.
All right. So there's only two of us here. Jessica, your first experiences with us on Rooftop Summer?
Correct.
Okay. So, let's see. I've done quite a bit of acting, starting to direct more. I'm going to have to say, honestly, man, I think it's a toss-up, but I'm going to lean a little bit towards acting.
Really?
Yeah. And
I really thought that you were going to go with director.
Me too.
Well, not just to throw you a curveball and try to be different, but the director is not alone. The director has, at least at our level where we're not millions of dollars and 50 people on the crew, the director takes input from everybody on set.
True.
Honestly, it's like, hey, why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? Hey, why don't everybody just be quiet? Whereas the actor, although they do take input as well, it's up to them inside their own brain to figure out how they're about to deliver a line and how they're going to portray their character. So you could take all the direction you want, or you can give all the direction you possibly can, but I mean, it's up to you as an actor to
deliver.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting that you say that as a director you're taking input, because there aren't a lot of directors that do things the way you do. Like, just from being on actors on other sets, there aren't a whole lot of directors that are willing to be collaborative. Like EDMs, we're pretty collaborative.
Right. That's what I thought was kind of surprising, where I felt like I was going to walk into the set and I was going to be, this is what you're going to do, this is the idea, and then it was, what do you think? What would you think would be cool in this part? And I thought that was just kind of really awesome to be kind of welcomed like that and given the opportunity to put my creative input on that. And I don't know, it made it really awesome to work for you in that direction, because you made it easy and you made it feel comfortable and it wasn't intimidating at all. Like,
well, thank you, Jessica.
Maybe that's just you're awesome at directing. I haven't experienced anybody else, but I would hope most people would be like that, because it takes a team, you know?
I appreciate that. And you did touch on a couple of things. And, as I said, I've acted more than I've directed. So that's something that is developing in my skill set. Mm-hmm. I'd say as a producer and a manager, like in my professional life, outside of the creative world, I am a manager. And so delegating and knowing when to take on the task on your own instead of wasting resources. So those are things that I'm really, really good at, and I'm an expert level editor. So honestly, that does make my directing a little bit easier, because I can see it how I'm going to edit.
Sure.
And I know there's a lot of people out there in DFW all over the world that direct, edit, play multiple roles, wear multiple hats. But the reason I am so collaborative, I'm meandering there because I'm just so excited to be here. The reason I am so open to being collaborative is because we're all volunteering our time, and no one is better than anyone else. So we all need each other. And that's another reason that we're all together in this film group, because we all need each other, and we all have different skill sets that we lend. So,
sure.
I guess to wrap it up there, Garrett, I'm going to go with actor over director just because that's what I want to say. So thanks for the question, Garrett.
Okay. So Brad asks a lot of questions. Thanks, boyfriend.
Thanks, boyfriend.
Let's see. I'm going to go with, if you had unlimited resources, what film would you create? I guess you guys individually. So Jessica, you're a fairly creative, kind of all over the place.
Only fairly.
Person. So if you had unlimited resources, you could do whatever you want. Unlimited money, unlimited actors, unlimited props, unlimited settings. What, without going into too much detail, what would be like your...
I'm really in love with, fairy tales and huge epic stories where there is it is a fantasy and it's a world that we don't live in. Like, I would love to go into a movie and maybe pick out a story from old times or create my own. I don't know. But anything that could create that fantasy that people could just like fall into and disappear for a while. And you like, you know, movies like Avatar and Alice in Wonderland. And I mean, like, you leave wanting to be a part of that world. Like, if I could have all the money in the world, I would want to have a story that I could be a part of to create that. And the makeups and the whimsicalness of all of it, like I mean, makeup and hair and design and all that stuff really gets my blood pumping. So if I could get my hands into something, I would do something towards that facet.
So epic, like
Epic
lot
fantasy.
of epic fantasy. Okay, so like sort of like the character building, the buddy flick, things like that. Like a
So kind of like
I mean, I
the
would-
dark Alice in
those things
Wonderland?
you're
I
not
like-
interested in, I guess. is
Right.
what-
Like, I like the more like Fable, where you're learning something within the movie itself.
like Ever After.
Exactly. So Ever After, Alice in Wonderland, just anything that is going to teach you a lesson, but along with it, you disappear into the world of it. Like,
Right.
have you ever seen Pan? Did you see that came out the last year with
No.
Hugh Jackman in it? So this movie
Huge
like,
Ackman.
Hugh Jackman. he was fantastic in the movie. The movie could have been better than what it was, but I love stories like that because there's so much detail and just excitement and all these different creatures, and I mean, it's just gorgeous too. I mean, it's actually like a beautiful landscape of just everything you wish you could be. I always wanted to be a princess or a witch
Aw,
or
I think you're a princess.
I don't know. I wanted to fly like
Joey's
in
sucking
through
up
the air,
over
you
here.
know. I'm a princess.
Well, we and around our house, we like movies. We love movies like that. I mean, we're
Mm-hmm.
big Lord of the Rings fans. We're big Twilight fans. Sorry,
Yeah, we are too.
mocking Hunger Games.
Hunger Games. Mm-hmm.
If it's a trilogy or more, we're in
Sure.
love with it. But to answer the question, if I were going to make a film, I don't really know. What is that? If you had unlimited resources, what film would you create? I'm really interested in war movies and westerns. Like, even I've wanted to do like a western short. So I guess unlimited resources, it would probably be something like that. I mean, I was going to ask what your favorite movies are. Let's go ahead and bust off that right quick. What are your top three, without giving it too much thought, Jessica? What's your top three favorite movies of all time?
I love Red Sonja from the 80s with Bridget Nielsen and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Do you remember that one?
I do.
Okay, so that's like one of my favorite of like all time because it's women empowerment and it's a fantasy. Like, there's another place where they live in another kingdom and everything is different. Oh man, what are the other? I like love so many. I love Avatar. I thought that was a beautiful movie. And then what else could I don't even know right now. That's a big question.
Well, I mean, if I pre-planned this. So, Brittany, do you have your top three favorite movies of all time?
Funny Girl, hands down. Yeah, everybody can laugh at me. And Finding Neverland,
Finding Neverland.
Johnny Depp.
Okay.
and probably What Dreams May Come.
Okay, that was one of my top three.
Okay. Yeah, that's a cool movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, Red Sonja, Avatar, and number 3 slot to be named.
I would say When Dreams May Come. That's like one of my top 100.
Funny Girl, When Dreams May Come, and
It's What Dreams May
What
Come.
Dreams May Come.
And Finding Neverland.
Finding Neverland. Okay, well, my favorite movies are American Graffiti, Jaws, and Tombstone. And your top 100, if we could be here. We will
we would
be here for,
all
yeah.
night.
So, Brittany, you know what? Unlimited resources. Let's toss that question back to you. What film, what type of film, what would you do if you had unlimited resources?
I actually have a specific film, and it's a film that would take the unlimited resources is important because it's got a lot of CGI and graphics that would be involved, but it's basically a story of there's 8 specters, and it's this guy who has tried to commit suicide, and he's in kind of the in-between world, and he's trying to make it to either the afterlife or back to Earth to fix what he's the mistakes that he's made. And so he has to go through these 8 specters. There's fire and ash, and so it's these characters that are made out of smoke and flames, and there's this lonely old man who's this brittle body, and then there's this beast who and each of these specters represent emotions. So anger, rage, betrayal, love, all of these different cycles that he went through in his life before he made the ultimate decision to kill himself. And then the main character, which is who I love, and I would love to to make this movie, honestly, just to play this role. And it's this really debonair, very classy devil, but it's he in the script, but I would love to make her a female because she's just this very fast-witted and just very sharp-looking. She's dressed in all black, and everything around her is enamel and bone. Like all the furniture is made out of actual human bones. And
So
Just
is this like
remember
a story
that-
that you've read, or this is like a idea that you've spawned?
it's a script that was actually written by a very dear friend of mine who would hate it if I named him, so I won't.
I was just about to say, just remember that we are going to have a lot of listeners from all over the world, and don't give away your whole.
Yeah, I don't want to
movie.
give up too much. So
Yeah.
it's
That sounds
just it's this
fantastic,
really
though.
cool. It's copyrighted, just FYI, so you can't steal it. But it is really so. But I would love to be able. There's just very little of it would be live action. There's so much that would be involved that would be in post, and,
But it's
and
going
it would
through
take
that-
a lot of
The
money.
the human condition and the darkness that people struggle with, like
Absolutely.
the different facets of your mind, and even where all those things that they're going through. Like I love seeing a character travel through every different perspective in their life, and it's a struggle for here, and it's pain, and it's
Right.
sadness and happiness, and like you just see those people transcend that. Like that's one of my favorite styles of storytelling, because it also gives you perspective in life too. Like how
Well, you
would
don't
I-
know if he transcends it.
Well,
I'm not
true.
going to give
Well,
away the end.
I'm not saying that he does, but I'm
But,
just saying in a lot of stories, like, I love that.
So that would be what I would do.
You know what? I have to add to this real quick, just because we're talking about that, and I'm thinking about all these stories, because I read books like all the time. Like I started with, it's funny that you talk about Twilight. That's what got me started to read again.
Sparkling
but-
vampires.
Yes, I love those sparkling vampires. I am Team Edward.
It's the love
okay?
story.
It is. It's a story too, but I like the vampire part as well because it's fantasy. But there's this trilogy by I think it's Juliana Bagot or Bagot. I don't know how to say it, but it's the Pure trilogy. So it's Pure, Fused, and Burned. And like this book series is like phenomenal. And it's like this post-apocalyptic with this girl in the beginning, and she has like this weird doll head for hands. And like all the bombs go off. And like,
Oh,
the
Mike would
world.
like this.
Yeah, like all the bombs go off, and there's all this radiation, and all these people outside are distorted, and they're called wretches, and then you have these the dome where there's all this perfect pure people like exist that got into it before all the atomic bombs go off, right? So you see this story of this girl where she's just surviving and innocent, and you know what I mean, and just doesn't know anything yet, and then the way that it travels and the people that you come across and how it's all intertwined, like I mean, it is just. You can see it, like the writer is so descriptive. Like that would be an amazing movie to make. I wish they would take more. So like you're talking about trilogies and Hunger Games and all that other stuff. Like that would be like the next one that I would love to
Right.
see.
So this book is called what? What's the name?
Pure,
Pure.
and then they have a second and third because it's a trilogy, and it's Fused and then Burned, and then even the artwork is really gorgeous too on the front of the page. But
Very
cool.
interesting. Yeah, trilogies, Pure. I'll have to remember that. I guess I'll listen to this. It's like I
Sure.
hope you are, and I'm thankful that you are listening and watching. I'm going to put this on YouTube, Facebook. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You want to cover one more question before we wrap up this installment?
Sure.
Or
You're gonna
do
make
you
me
let's
pick.
just cut it off
You're
right
gonna
now?
make me pick. No, you're
Okay.
gonna make me pick. You know what? I'm gonna go with this one just because it's
This one right here could be its whole own installment. This was a multifaceted question that's takes 3 minutes to read. But that's okay. I'm just saying.
So, with technology advancing so rapidly in the past 10 years, with access to everything now at our fingertips, how has filmmaking changed in the past 10 years to capture the millennial market?
Okay, hold on right there. That's
Right.
That's the first part, right?
Well, yeah, he just went on to say the millennial market being people that it's really difficult to hold your attention. So, how do you capture that market?
all those ADD babies that grow up on video games and movies.
Well, I think that is an interesting question, but I also don't think that is, and tell me I'm wrong. Sure, there's a blog or something out there that would state otherwise, but I think as a filmmaker, you put your story out there, and whether someone watches it or not, whether you can keep their attention, you don't know what psychological disorders these people may have, or I mean, I don't know. I mean, you make it and you hope people watch it, and I don't know. I think that's I don't want to be a rude about that. I think that's a
Right.
weird question, to be honest with you.
I mean, at the same time, you're talking about millennials, and I
No
think
offense
that's
to whoever asked it. We appreciate
right,
it.
but I think that's in contrast with even kids or teenagers or adults these days. Like, they are ADD and attention deficit to a point, but when it comes to movies, like, those are the things that do catch their attention. Those are the ones where they're going to watch this whole thing, and they plan out their week on that. I mean, maybe they can't pay attention when their mom's telling them to go, do their laundry or take care of the dogs, but they're going to sit here and they're going to be super uber focused on this
when
one
it's movie
If
time,
it's
you
interesting,
chill,
follow
you watch
it.
a movie. I mean, like you said, you get caught in the fantasy world, and that's what you
Absolutely.
love. What were we going to say?
I mean, I think, first of all, he never specifically said ADD or ADHD. He just said, we are my generation, and you and I are on the very tip of that generation, and we're at the very beginning of that generation.
Just the tip.
And it is a generation of people who are very fast moving. They don't communicate verbally a whole lot anymore. They use electronics, they use texting, they use email. They don't pick up the phone and call people anymore. But I think it still is kind of an odd question in that movies have always been that part of entertainment that's there to distract you, that's there to take you to another world and get you out of your life for 2 hours.
Right. So even if you have an attention deficit, I mean, you're going to be able to enjoy a movie. If you're on Ritalin or something, or if you're on medication and you can't watch a movie, then you have, I mean, that's a pretty bad problem. I wouldn't really fabricate my movie around the potential needs of a small percentage of people that may or may not even watch your movie.
Say 80. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, I know, but we're identifying millennials.
Well, what did it say exactly then? Our first fight. I'm about to grab a chair and we're going to go Royal Rumble.
But he's just saying, how do you? First of all, the technological. You would agree that there have been extreme technological advances in the last 10 years. You would agree to that statement,
right? So to cover that real quick, if I can just, I mean, technology. A movie that we're making today compared to 5 years ago, with the DSLR cameras, with the different
drone footage.
It's affordable. It's cost effective. That's what the biggest deal is you can get all of this for a few $1,000s. I mean, it still takes hundreds and thousands of dollars, but I mean, the equipment's so much better. Like the camera that we use for our films is already 4 or 5 years old, but it's still holding its own based compared to the other camcorder technology that we had, because that just looks so flat. And the difference between standard definition, high definition, tape versus SD versus hard drive, hard drives, internal hard drives, and internal storage of these cameras. I mean, technology is making it a lot more affordable, and for the big filmmaker, for the people with the unlimited budgets. Let's stick with the ADD. I'm going to pretend that the person was talking about ADD. Something I read recently. Oculus Rift or Oculus something.
Yeah. The new gaming system that's out. That's like ridiculously expensive.
And whether I'm saying it right or not, the way that technology is going to start impacting film and TV shows, is people are going to put on these goggles and they're going to be in the movie. Right. Literally, if you're on team Edward or team Jacob, I'm team Jacob, by the way.
I could almost.
I know that's so old, but
apparent abs that he didn't have in the movie.
But you could literally step into a film, a couple of years from now, and you could look at from the perspective of Edward.
I could be in Wonderland with Alice.
Yeah, I mean, and that's where that's going to go. So I mean, if people who have whatever, I don't want to bog down, but technology is going to play a huge role. And I mean, even talk about 4K. I mean, we're still shooting in 1080. And just a few years ago, I was like, I just want to shoot 720 because 1080 takes up a lot of memory and it's harder to render and blah, blah, blah. And now they're getting in 2K and 4K and even 8K is coming out. So we'll just have to see. But for, bang for the buck, these DSLR cameras and the HD we're shooting with has improved the quality of our films tenfold.
Though, like one of the things that kind of saddens me, like even with all the CGI and all the technology that it has come a long way and it does these amazing things, but there's something to be said for the actual organic way that like they create makeups or they create creatures that are, I mean, I would love them to do that and then blend the CGI with it a little bit more, and that way it's a more authentic, because there's some movies where they come out and then we have these amazing TVs that see everything, and then I can see every CGI. I mean, maybe it's just an older movie, flaw. I don't know, but I can
every
see
dollar
it.
Not spent, and
it takes me out of the joy of the movie, because now I'm looking at all these things that are clearly fake and there's no authenticity. I can't say the word.
Authenticity.
Thank you very much. But it makes me kind of sad sometimes. Like I wish there's some movies that would have been absolutely brilliant if they just added a little bit more organic effects to it.
There's our camera cat. Oscar is on his tower.
Hey, Oscar.
Hey, you know what? I think that's a good place to wrap it up with CGI, technology, makeup, whatever. We're going to probably touch on a few of those aspects in the next installment. But yeah, so basically, I just want to thank you for joining us on our pilot episode here, and want to thank my co-hosts that have graciously decided that they want to be a part of this. So I'm just going to say over and out, and you go ahead and say whatever closing words you want.
See ya. Later.